Hey, what's up?
Yo, yo.
How's it going?
Oh, we're in little circles. Interesting. It's going good, man. Not as good as Philadelphia right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. How was your night?
It was good. I went to the gym. My gym closes at 10, so I usually go like 8 to 10, drive back here, and then get ready, get set up. So appreciate you working with my schedule.
Nice.
Yeah, and I just got back yesterday. It was like crazy. I didn't go back
Yeah.
to New York, so
What time was your flight?
it was like a 3 o'clock flight. I didn't get back to LA until around 6:30.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Uh, Welcome to episode 45 of the Dugout Report. I'm here with Michael Duarte from NBC LA, recapping
Oh,
and
wait,
previewing.
wait. No longer NBCLA.
Oh,
That's right. We changed that. I should have caught that. You wrote it on your thing. Sorry about that.
that's right.
You want to start over?
Yeah. What news channel are you working for?
Oh, now I'm with the New York Post.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that, but welcome to episode 45 of the Dugout Report. I'm here with New York Post Michael Duarte, and I'm excited to have him on to uh, hear his thoughts on how the Dodgers are doing and what his plans are for the rest of the MLB season and much more. So welcome.
Thanks, Alex. I mean, yeah, we haven't done this in so long that I've changed jobs. I'm now with a new company. So, yeah, it's been long overdue, at least on the baseball side. I know we've done basketball, we've done football. So, baseball side's been a little bit longer, but we're finally here. And I have to say, before you begin,
Yeah.
we talk all the time. You're my friend. So, as my friend, I just have to say congratulations to you on the Philadelphia 76ers getting LeBron James. I can't believe it. I'm shocked. We talked about this like a month ago. I never thought he would choose the Sixers. I didn't think it made a whole lot of sense basketball wise, family wise, happiness wise. But hey, it gave a lot of people in Philadelphia today happiness, especially ones that haven't seen the Sixers win a title. And what's it going now? 43 years? Could be
Hmm.
44 next year. So there you go. Congratulations.
Oh, before we start, I wanted to ask you why the LA on your hat is upside down.
Oh, great question. So, for anyone who knows, I get this question all the time when I wear this hat. Um, it is the LA logo. I don't know. Some people say it's a Dodger hat. I really don't associate it with the Dodgers. It's not Dodgers colors. I know it is the logo, but to me, it's just more representative of the city of LA, just like a Yankees hat is, the NY is representative of New York. But during the pandemic, an artist started taking logos like the Dodgers logo, the Yankees logo, LA, New York logos, and flipping them upside down because he said the world is upside down right now during the pandemic. And I liked that message that this is like the world is upside down. And so I wear this to kind of remind me that, the world is a little crazy place sometimes and it's upside down and things don't make sense. And I try to power through with that perspective in sight.
Hmm. Speaking of baseball, how did you manage to cover and watch Dodger games while you were on your World Cup tour?
That's a great question. So it was difficult sometimes if the soccer match or World Cup game or match that I was covering was at the same time as the Dodgers, I'd have to follow on my phone, get updates that way. But thankfully, now that I'm with the New York Post, we have Jack Harris, a really good beat writer who covers them. We also have a columnist that's covering the Dodgers as well. So we have two people on the Dodgers 24/7 around the clock full time. I'm more like the third person that comes on when needed, like I've done with Lakers and all LA sports, frankly, as kind of the senior sports reporter that covers anything that's the most important going on at any given time in California, in Los Angeles, or sometimes even nationally. And so that's allowed me to not have to be watching every second of every single game, obviously, every pitch, but I still need to follow it along. That is my childhood team, the Dodgers. I've been covering them for 12 years. So, and I need to go inside that locker room and be confident and make it seamless. And so, to answer your question, I travel everywhere I go with my iPad and my laptop. And I have two laptops now, a work laptop and a personal laptop. And I travel with both. I travel with the iPad. So it would not be a surprise to see me either in my hotel room or in a press box with the Dodger game on the iPad. And then another game, maybe the broadcast of the soccer game, so I can watch replays on my left and then stats in front of me when I'm covering a match.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, a lot of people asked me, I know you didn't ask me, so I'm just kind of sharing now what it was like for me to cover this World Cup on home soil in the United States, obviously in North America as well. I had covered the 2014 World Cup in Brazil. I've covered another World Cup previously as well. It's not as exotic or glamorous for me, at least as a lover of travel, to get to go to a foreign place and see new cultures, new people, new stadium. But it was cool to see the mirror image of that. And what I mean by that is I got to travel all over the US and Canada. Didn't get to go to any matches in Mexico, unfortunately, but I got to travel all over the US and Canada in most of these 16 host cities to watch the World Cup, and I got to see other countries coming and seeing American culture, right? I got to
Mm-hmm.
see them, how they saw our NFL stadiums, how they saw our cities, trying Texas barbecue, Kansas City barbecue, trying tacos in Los Angeles and all the food offerings we have here, watching like Lamine Yamal order like a gyro and shawarma and hot dogs on the street in New York City. I got to watch all these other cultures try and experience and immerse themselves in American culture, whether that's like Chick-fil-A or all the different things. Some people had never discovered ranch dressing. They hadn't discovered what some places over by you, like Whataburger in the South was one that I saw them cover. And then what's the famous gas station there in Philadelphia people get food at too?
Wawa.
Right, yeah, Wawa. I got to see people try Wawa for the first time. They loved it. So that was cool for me to see the flip side, because usually it's me getting to experience another culture. And it was strange though, and you would like this, Alex. Everything was in basically an NFL stadium except for when I was in Vancouver and Toronto. Those were soccer stadiums. But I essentially travel around the U.S. going to stadiums I travel to all the time for NFL. So I know exactly where these stadiums are. I know where the press box is. I know how to get to them. So it wasn't too different for me, but it was, I guess, different and cool to see World Cup soccer in these stadiums that I've been going to for a dozen years. That was familiar to me, something that made me more comfortable, I guess, than just being kind of a complete stranger. But overall, the experience was unbelievable, one of a kind, something I'll never forget. Really, really liked it, enjoyed it.
How many connections did you make while you were on the trip with like beat reporters and stuff?
Tons, for me, I didn't know, Alex, what to expect personally from this World Cup, meaning going into it, all I knew is, Michael, you're the guy from the Post covering the World Cup, and we want you to kind of tell us what we should be covering, what kind of stories. And so I was, I don't know, months and months ahead planning and working on the World Cup coverage. But it wasn't until maybe 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before, that the New York Post said, okay, we want you and another colleague of mine, Ethan Sears, we want you on Team USA. So we want you
Mm-hmm.
guys following them from their warm up games against Germany that they played, and then against uh, Senegal. That was in Chicago. So go to those warm up games in Atlanta and Chicago, Charlotte, excuse me, in Chicago, and then follow them as they came to California here in Irvine, where their base camp was. And so basically, I followed the United States national team until they got bounced out by Belgium. I also went to all of the matches at SoFi Stadium here in Los Angeles during that time. I got to jump up on some off days to San Jose, Santa Clara, where there was a stadium, got to jump up on an off day to Vancouver when I was in Seattle. So got to bounce around all the different stadiums. And but moreover, to answer your question, I was following Team USA, and that had a big group of journalists here in the US, from The Athletic and the USA Today and to NBC News, my friends over at NBC. And so that group that was always traveling and following USA from city to city, we all got to know each other very well. We got to make a lot of friendships and connections, but also I got to make friendships and connections with people from Italy, people from Argentina, people from Spain, people from France. And that was kind of more special to me to be with that group, international group. And that really didn't happen until the U.S. got eliminated. And then I was just going to every quarterfinal, every semifinal, and the final. Then you get to
Mm-hmm.
see the same faces that are covering the tournament at large and some of the bigger teams.
Mm-hmm. Before we move on to the baseball side of things, I just wanted to ask one more question about the World Cup.
Yeah.
But was it like writing up stories after games and getting to have connections with the players and stuff?
It works a little differently than I'm used to here in the US, but thankfully, like I said, I've been covering soccer. Soccer is what got me started in sports journalism. I was always writing about things that were close to me, passionate to me, like the Dodgers, USC, the Lakers. But those were things I was doing for fun, freelancing, never like full time. The first paid job that made a lot of money was covering the World Cup. And so I would not be here without soccer and without the World Cup. So I'm eternally grateful for those opportunities and for the sport itself for getting me that. So, long story short, I knew exactly how they set it up post game, which is what's called mix zone. Whereas here in the US, we're used to going in the locker room, seeing who's at their locker and willing to talk to the media and talk to cameras. And then we kind of form like a huddle or a scrum around them, and we all get to go in there and ask questions. And sometimes if you have a specific story or a specific angle, you can go to that player one-on-one if he's available and wants to talk, and you can just talk to him individually. That's how it works in baseball. It's how it works in football, basketball. And so I'm used to that. In
Mm-hmm.
soccer, it works differently. And you, for the World Cup, at least this year in the US, how big it was, you had to choose before the game, you had to apply for either the mix zone, which is where the players are, or the press conferences, which is usually where the coaches are.
Mm-hmm.
And you couldn't be in both. And so, because there was me and Ethan from the New York Post, we were able to kind of say, well, what do you want to be in? You go to the coaches, I'll go to the players, and we'll divide and conquer. Now, one thing is, when you're with the coaches at the press conference, you can put an earpiece in and you can get a translation into whatever language you want if they're speaking at the giant podium. But when they're in the mix zone, you're just stopping them as they're walking, and you don't have the ability to translate. So because I speak English and Spanish, a little bit of Italian, a little bit of French, it was, even though nobody was speaking Italian, it allowed me to at least communicate maybe a little better than Ethan could have in that situation. So I did a lot of mix zones. And so essentially it's working the same way. What most of my assignments are is what's called a running gamer. So that means during the game, I'm taking notes, I'm writing, and as soon as the match ends, I have to be ready to file this so it can go out to print online and in the newspaper, like right away, immediately. And then I can go down to the post game media availabilities, whether it's the press conference with the coaches or the mix zone with the players, get a transcript of the quotes, and then go back up and what they call sub in the quotes into the article. So then when you open the newspaper the next day, you know, as long as I made the deadline, you're going to see the quotes from the players in there. And if it came later, you won't see the quotes, but maybe you'll see the quotes online on that version of the story. But if you're not familiar with the mix on, I'm sure you saw the videos that were posted on social media. It's almost like uh, it's almost like a maze, if I'm being honest with you. Players will come out of the locker room and they're forced to go in this mix zone before they can get on the team bus to go home. And so they enter, I don't know, maybe a 3-4 foot wide little space with a rail on one side and a wall of sponsors on the other. And they navigate it like a little maze. And some guys, like Lamine Yamal, for example, he'll just walk on through. He's got headphones on like you. Everyone's going, Lamine, stop and talk. And he just walks on through and doesn't talk to you. One thing I really appreciated, because he does not speak when he's here in the MLS. That's Lionel Messi, the greatest soccer player of all time, in my opinion. He does not speak to the media when he's playing with Inter Miami and MLS, maybe twice a year at best. I've always tried to get to him. You don't get to him. But for the games I covered with Argentina, and there was 3 of them, he went in the mix zone and he stopped every 5 feet and would speak to all the journalists every time. He would probably spend 30 minutes in that mix zone before he left to get on the bus. I really appreciated the opportunities to try to get in there and see and talk to him, because there were so many people. But that's how it works a lot differently. You are literally lined up against a rail and you're trying to stop them as they walk from their locker room to the bus. Some will stop and talk, and some just keep on moving, which is frustrating. But that's how it works differently in the World Cup and for soccer internationally than it does here in the U.S., where we're used to just going in the locker rooms.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad that you got to experience everything that involved with the media and stuff.
What'd you say?
Oh, I'm just happy that you got to
Oh,
do
thank
what
you.
you
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. So am I, man. It's a once in a lifetime. Did you get to go to any games at Philadelphia in Philadelphia?
No, I didn't.
No. I think France played. That would have been a good game to go to.
Yeah, I think the tickets were on the expensive side.
Yeah, probably. But that would have been fun to
Yeah.
go to. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I had a lot of fun. It was something I'll always remember. And hopefully, I'll be able to be back there in 2030 when it's technically Portugal, Morocco, and Spain, but they're going to be 3 games in Uruguay, Argentina, and Paraguay. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out.
Are you going to cover the women's side?
I would like to. I don't know if the New York Post is going to send us down to Brazil for the women's
Mm-hmm.
side. Maybe we'll be writing about it from here. I'm not sure, but I will say that, like, Ethan had been telling me, like I said, I've been with the New York Post and the California Post too for about 6 months. So I'm very new here. But
Mm-hmm.
Ethan, who's been there for, I don't know, 10 years or something, he was telling me, they don't usually cover the World Cup. They don't send people. But I think because this country is starting to like soccer more and more and become more excited and passionate about it, that I'm hoping that the New York Post might change that. And if they're willing to change that, then yes, sign me up, send me to Brazil next summer. I'll go down and cover the women. I love Brazil.
Mm-hmm. So let's shift to the baseball talk.
Yeah, let's go.
So what were your thoughts on the Dodgers Phillies series back on the 20th to the 22nd?
Well, I got to go down to one of those games because obviously the final was on the 19th, and that was exciting for me to get to go down to the bank and watch those games. Now, if you're just strictly, excuse me, asking from like a analyst standpoint, I thought that when Philly is throwing Christopher Sanchez at you against Emmett Sheehan, when they throwing, I'm trying to think, Wheeler in game 2, and then they're throwing, I know Luzardo pitched today, but then they're throwing, was it Aaron Nola, game 3 of that series, right?
I'm checking right now.
I'm
It
pretty
was
sure it went Sanchez,
yes,
Wheeler,
yes, it was
Nola.
Noda.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
You
was
can
Noda.
safely say that, in a 7-game series against the Phillies, those 3 are probably in your starting rotation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those are your 3 best starters. Luzardo's obviously been very good as well, pitched well against the Yankees. So for the Dodgers to take 2 of 3 in that series, beat them, and score what? Like, I don't know how many runs. They scored 7 runs in the game against Sanchez. They lost. But the Dodgers threw 3 guys that, in my opinion, probably won't be on the postseason roster in Emmett Sheehan, who's in trade talks right now for Skubal. Justin Robleski, who's an all-star, he's been great. I mean, if the playoffs started today, Robleski would be in the rotation, but this is a guy who was out of the bullpen for the Dodgers last year, and my guess would be he would be in there again if their rotation is completely healthy. And then Eric Lauer, who was a guy they picked up off waivers to be an innings eater to just get you through the summer until guys like Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow can come back. So if you're the Dodgers, to go into hostile territory in Philadelphia, to take the series, to take 2 of 3 and beat 2 of the Phillies' best pitchers and put up a lot of runs on Christopher Sanchez, I think confidence-wise, you're the Dodgers coming out of there riding high with a lot of confidence that, hey, if this was the playoffs, we'd easily be able to beat this team. I don't want to say easily, but you know what I mean. Like, give us Blake Snell healthy, give us Ohtani pitching healthy, Yamamoto and Tyler Glasnow, and we're a lot more confident if we beat them with these 3 starting pitchers than if we had our lesser starting pitchers. And then as you and I were texting and messaging each other throughout the series, I was at the second game, which you could argue the Phillies had Tanner Scott against the ropes, runners on second and third with 1 out. All they needed was a single, and they probably walk it off and win the game. And of course, they run into 2 outs on the base paths. And it just reminded me of that game 4 in Los Angeles when it seemed like Philadelphia was there for the taking, and they, again, on errors and bad defense and just base running blunders and mistakes, give the Dodgers the victory and the series. And they gave the Dodgers the series with a couple bonehead plays in that series as well. And so, I don't know, the Phillies got to clean those things up if they want to be in that contention for a championship, in my opinion. It's those margins of error that are the difference between, becoming a champion and missing out. And the best example of that is that Blue Jays Dodgers Game 7 series. You know what I mean? Like, everything was on a razor's edge. It could have gone either way. The Blue Jays could easily be the reigning champions right now, but the Dodgers made every single play they needed to make at the end of that Game 7, and the Blue Jays didn't. And that's the difference between winning and losing a World Series.
I was surprised of how well Eric Lytle pitched the night I went. I wasn't expecting him to pitch that well. I was expecting the Phillies to get more hits than expected.
Which night did you went to Aaron Nola night?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised, Eric. I mean, he hasn't been pitching that well. That surprised me as well. But I don't know, this Dodgers lineup, especially when healthy, and I think you saw it live, what a difference Tommy Edman makes in that lineup, right? This was a guy who was out for like the first 4 months of the season. He's just come back recently. I think he had 3 hits, 3 RBIs in that game. He's been off to a tear. This is the lineup, by the way, I might add, that just added Teoscar Hernandez back a couple weeks ago. Dalton Rushing is essentially your starting catcher because Will Smith has been out and now on the 60-day IL with a neck injury. So your all-star catcher, who was absolutely dominant in the playoffs last year, hit the game-winning home run against the Blue Jays in Game 7. He's been out for months. Freeman's been out a little bit. Mookie Betts missed over a month. Kyle Tucker has been not playing very well. I know he had a home run tonight, and we're about to get into that. But this is a team that the Dodgers, who hasn't been healthy, but just look what they can still do with that offense against any team. It's just absolutely an unfair advantage for them right now, especially without Will Smith in the lineup.
What are your thoughts on Ohtani's struggles at the plate at TBP?
I'm not too worried about Ohtani's struggles at the plate. We've talked about it all the time. He goes in stretches. I've been covering him now. This is my 3rd season watching him. He sometimes gets a little too swing happy and goes through these, weeks, sometimes stretches at a time at the plate where he's swinging at balls outside the zone. He's expanding the zone for the opposing pitcher by swinging at balls. And he sometimes gets a little loose with his back foot on his swing. And I'm too close to the camera right now to really show you. But when he digs in that back leg, that left leg in the box, when he digs that in and it's straight and he's not kind of sliding it all over and his swing is more compact, he's a very strong guy, a big guy. He does not need that much power to get it out of the stadium any direction. When he's in there and he's right and he's only swinging at pitches in his nitro zone, then he's at his best. And so I don't make too much of it. I do think earlier in the season, the pitching wore him down on both sides. It's why they tried to give him rest and maybe not hit at the plate on days he was pitching or give him a day off after. So But this guy is still what I think top 5 right now in WAR in
Mm-hmm.
the league. That's just how dominant, and that's just offensively. That's just how dominant he is. So I'm not too worried about him. His OPS is still over 900. I'm not worried about Ohtani at all. He goes through these stretches, but even just him in the lineup, it makes everybody better behind him because you're, as an opposing pitcher, you're fearful because he's still Ohtani. He can take you 500, 500 feet at any time. So, yeah.
What were your thoughts on last night's game, winning 4-2 against the Mets?
Great game, right? I think they came from behind again. They trailed 1-0. Robert hit a home run early for the Mets, but Roki Sasaki, this is now back-to-back starts post All-Star break, like you said. One against the Yankees, dominant. Another one here against the Mets. The velocity wasn't up, but his fastball had movement. It had life to it. His splitter has been absolutely lethal. This is the Roki Sasaki the Dodgers thought they were getting when they signed him to that minor league deal out of Japan last year. Didn't work out last year, obviously. Got some run out of him as a closer late in the season when they didn't have a closer. Knock on wood, I don't have wood around me, but they don't have that problem this year. If they can stay healthy, they have a handful of closers that can close for them, including Tanner Scott, who they signed last offseason to be the closer. He had a horrible year last year, but he seems to be much, much better this year. And in my opinion, probably should have been a National League All-Star the way he pitched
Mm-hmm.
this year and to be back there again. So they have a lot of options. Edwin Diaz is set to come back here pretty soon. He's been on rehab assignments. Evan Phillips is a guy that's back and healthy after Tommy John surgery. He pitched the 8th inning tonight. So the Dodgers have a lot of bullpen help. If Roki Sasaki can pitch like this, you're going to have some really big first world problems when it comes to your pitching staff, right? If guys can get healthy, because as we just mentioned, you have maybe a Cy Young front runner in Shohei Ohtani this year.
Mm-hmm.
You have Yamamoto, who's just been amazing the 2 seasons he's been with him, especially in the playoffs. You have Blake Snell, who pitched like a Cy Young Award winner in the postseason last year, 2-time Cy Young Award winner, I might add. You have Tyler Glasnow, who's your 4th starter. He's been amazing. And not even mentioning Justin Robleski, who's an all-star. Roki Sasaki, who the last 2 starts has been dominating the Yankees, who are a World Series contender in many eyes. The Mets, who have a insane lineup, but have not obviously been living up to expectations or have the pitching to back that up this year. But that's 6 guys right there that I think in any other team are maybe top 2, top 3 rotation guys, and you have 6 to choose from right now alone. And the rumor is if the Tigers do want to trade Tarek Skubal, the Dodgers would be willing to move some guys to get him as well. So it's just insane if the Dodgers pitching rotation is healthy, what any opponent would have to face. And then any of those guys that aren't in the rotation, you're going to see him in the bullpen coming out late in the game. And that's a scary prospect as well. So that was good to see. And then offensively, they did just enough. It was good to see Kyle Tucker hit a home run and break out of his slump. Feels like forever since I've seen Kyle Tucker hit a home run. If he's right and he's swinging the bat the way we know he's been able to swing the bat when he was with the Astros and even the second half of last season with the Cubs, good luck getting through that lineup, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking about Ohtani, Pages, who was an all-star, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, who's now just absolutely dominating with the Dodgers for power. Mookie Betts has been struggling all year, but hitting well lately.
Mm-hmm.
Teoscar Hernandez, same thing. And if Kyle Tucker is back to all-star form, there's no holes in the lineup, and it's just a nightmare for opponents. So I thought they played well tonight, and I think getting the opening win means all you have to do now is win one more game of this series against a really bad Mets team right now, and you've won every single series post All-Star break so far against some really good teams, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. For the Phillies, they went up against Cam Schlittler, who struck out 12 batters.
Schittler, yep.
And threw 68 out of 99 pitches for strikes, and the Phillies only had I think 4 hits all game, and they just couldn't get anything going. And what are your thoughts on the rest of the series? And do you think that the Phillies can manage to come back and win the series?
Well, I definitely tell you, tonight was a good old-fashioned pitcher's duel between Schittler and Luzardo. And, Cam Schittler, we really didn't see him break out until the postseason last year, but I could make a case he's definitely an AL Cy Young candidate this year. And, maybe the Yankees have two of them. They've been amazing. I thought Luzardo pitched absolutely fantastic tonight. He just didn't get the help offensively. They just couldn't get the big hit when they needed it. Like I said, Real Muto had 2 hits and nobody was able to knock him home behind him. And that was the difference in the game tonight. But I look at this series, I look at the two teams' record, I look at their vicinity to one another. This could be a World Series matchup if things broke the right way. And I would say the Yankees and Phillies, especially seeing it tonight play out in the field, these two teams, in my opinion, are right now equal at each other, right? I think we could
Hmm.
say the Dodgers are above both of them because they just beat them head to head in the last like 6, 7 days uh, on the road, not without, their best pitchers pitching. But that doesn't mean anything, you know what I mean? As far as like what could happen in the playoffs, what can happen in a short series, health, injuries, those things. So if the Dodgers are kind of like in a league of their own, or maybe the Brewers and the Dodgers right now, we can say are kind of ahead of everybody in baseball. Right below them are the 1A, 1B. The 1Bs are the Yankees and the Phillies, and I think those two teams are equal. And so if we look at what to expect now with that in mind here, um, the rest of this weekend, I know. I think this is just going to be a great series. That's what I think. Um,
I think the Phillies might be going for a bullpen game later today.
that's what you were saying. I think TBD is who's pitching. TBD is never a good guy you want to see on the box score when TBD is taking the mound. That guy's never to be trusted. Obviously, I wouldn't trust TBD with my life. But yes, you know what I mean. That's what I was about to say. I think so. Then after the bullpen game Saturday, Sunday, you're coming back online with Christopher Sanchez, right?
Hmm.
And I think also that might mean that I don't know who's pitching. Is Garrett Cole pitching on Sunday or is it Warren?
I think it's Warren.
Yeah. So I think you can beat Warren. I think a bullpen game is obviously always a tough prospect. But if the Phillies can win tomorrow in a bullpen game, or excuse me, Saturday when this is getting published in a bullpen game, then I think the rubber match on Sunday would be great. And I think it goes to the Phillies side when you got Christopher Sanchez on the mound. To me, that guy, especially with his scoreless inning streak early in this year, to me, he's a Cy Young candidate as well. And you could argue is the best pitcher on the game on a certain night. And I like the Phillies' chances of winning the series, but it's tough now. I think they needed to try to win this game against Schittler, especially when Luzardo pitched as
Hmm.
well as he did going into a bullpen game tomorrow. But I expect just a really close series. I don't really expect any blowouts,
Hmm.
like we kind of saw with that Dodgers Phillies 9-4 game, by the way.
Yeah. um, Speak of the Phillies. Staying on the Phillies for 1 second.
Sure.
They travel to Miami next.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know Miami has been thriving in the standings lately, and I'm curious to see how that series turns out. And
So I actually think that Miami has been struggling in the standings post All Star break. I think they've lost 10 in a row.
I meant to say before the All Star.
Yes, but before
Yeah.
that, they were surging. They were like the Red Sox, they got caught fire. But
Hmm.
now they've lost 10 in a row. So, like, they're coming out of the gate. And it's really, you could argue, because I think the Marlins had tied the Phillies before the All Star break in the standings in the East. Now, this 10-game losing streak has created this chasm of like 4 or 5 games between them. I think we can safely now say, and this is what the Miami Marlins do. So, and look, my friend was at the game tonight in Miami against the Padres. Again, there was like 3,000 people in the stands. The place never sells out. Their fans don't show up. It makes me feel really bad because, it's a good ballpark. It's a great city, and the team deserves better. But the Marlins have just been in a free for all. So to me, it's Braves Phillies in the East now with 2 months to go. So
Hmm.
I think it's a 2-horse race now in the East. I think the Phillies can go into Miami and just absolutely mollywop them and kick them while they're down. You know what I mean? and maybe make a decision, because there's a lot of teams out there that are on the fence between being buyers and sellers. And I think if you're Miami, maybe you think about selling if by the time you get to like August 1st, you've fallen on this huge losing streak to start the second half, and you've fallen out of contention and you're below 500. Maybe you become a seller instead of a buyer at the deadline. And then who do the Phillies play after that? I know Dodgers have Mariners back home here in LA, and then Red Sox after this Mets series.
The Phillies travel to Baltimore.
Yeah, again, another team that maybe is better than their record states, but also below 500. I think this is a really good opportunity for the Phillies right now as we head into August to try to gain some ground on Atlanta and really make this a close race in the East between those two top teams.
As of now, the Phillies are 5.5 games back from the Braves.
Yeah, it's doable. Trust me. I mean, what was Boston 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
They were dead in the water, and now they're only 4 back of the Yankees, 6.5, I think, by Tampa. But they're on a tear, and now they're in the playoff hunt again. So I think 5.5,
Yeah.
definitely doable for the Phillies to catch the Braves if that's what they want to do. You never know.
I was actually watching the ending to the Braves game last night, and they almost somehow lost the 7-4 lead.
I saw that.
Yeah.
But they've been winning post All-Star break too. I think they've won now 3 in a row, and they were struggling going into the All-Star break. So you just never know in baseball. You got to take I think Don Mattingly, ironically, was the guy that told me this. Now the Phillies manager, he always said you just got to win the series that you're supposed to win. You don't have to sweep or whatever. So like for the Phillies to go into the Marlins, just win the series. Just take 2 of 3 or 3 of 4. And then you go on against Baltimore. Again, that's the team you got to win the series. So it's exactly what the Dodgers are doing right now, right? You go into Philly, you take the series. You go to New York, you take the series. You go to New York again, you take the series. You don't have to win every single game, but if you take the series long enough, the next thing you'll know, you'll be at the top of your division.
For the Dodgers side of things, what is your prediction for the Seattle series?
The Seattle series is very interesting. I think the Dodgers are going to be really happy to come back home. They haven't been home in over 2 weeks because they go on the All-Star break and then they open up with this long road trip on the road. It's like a 12-game road trip. You see the White House. They're going to be happy to sleep in their own bed. And then at the same time, you have the Seattle Mariners literally fighting for their lives in the AL West. This was a division that the Athletics once were in first place in for most of the start of the season. And now the Athletics are doing what they always do, falling off a cliff at the right time, right after the All-Star break. And it's looking like a 3-team race in the AL West. And ironically, it's the same 3 teams that are always in the freaking AL West race, Seattle, Texas, and Houston. So this series is more important for Seattle, in my opinion. And I think what I've experienced over the 12 years I've been covering baseball is that first game after a long road trip when you're home sleeping, you don't really play very well. I don't know why that is. It's a weird conundrum. Maybe you finally got sleep in your own bed. You're tired. I don't know, but it's the day after the long road trip that does you in. So for me, looking at the Dodgers' upcoming schedule with that series coming up in Seattle, I think they'll have a day off to travel back on Monday, but I think Tuesday, the 28th, they get beat by Seattle and they look kind of lifeless. But then they'll come back Wednesday, Thursday, and I think they'll win Wednesday. We'll see what happens Thursday in the rubber match, and then obviously a big series with the Boston Red Sox to end the month here at Dodger Stadium, not too far from where my house is here. And that's going to be a great series because Boston's the hottest team right now in baseball, and the Dodgers are the best team in baseball with the best record in baseball. So that's a really exciting series to get to watch and to get to be at here in LA. But yeah, I expect that Tuesday, that first game back home, it's going to be a bad day for the Dodgers.
One last thing. What are your thoughts on how the Phillies and Dodgers will power through the deadline?
Yes, exactly. This is what we're here for, right? This is what we're always here to talk about. This is why I come on at this time, is to talk trade rumors and situations with you. I guess we can start with, you want to start with the Dodgers or you want to start with the Phillies?
I guess Dodgers.
All right, let's start with the Dodgers. Biggest need for the Dodgers is a catcher. And there's some rumors that Will Smith might be out for the rest of the season. I don't think so. I think maybe Dave Roberts was wanting to put people down that trail. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Will Smith's neck enough to know, is this going to be season ending or not? I would hope not. It doesn't, they thought he would miss one game and then it was 1 week and now we're going on multiple months. But by moving him to 60-day IL, but figuring it out, getting the best people here in Los Angeles, the best medical people on top of it, I feel confident he's back. And the reason I bring that up is because that's the difference between really needing to go out and get a starting catcher or just needing to go out and get like a backup catcher. I think if that's the case, a backup catcher might make sense. Ben Rortvet, it's a guy they picked up at the deadline last year. I know he's right now in AAA, I think. That's a guy, I think with the Mets, honestly. So that's a guy I think he's familiar. He caught him in the playoffs last year. There's familiarity with this pitching staff. They know he played well. He can still just be the backup to Dalton Rushing, which was what happened at the end of last season when Will Smith had a hand injury. So I think that's a good candidate to go out and get. I don't see any reason why the Mets wouldn't be able to move them where they're at in the standings. And then also maybe a guy like Jonah Hine, with the A's or whatever. That's a guy that's got some experience. I think that's another guy that could be good. It just depends. I think that's the number one priority for the Dodgers. And I think when you are making most of your moves in the offseason, as the Dodgers do, you don't have a whole lot of needs at the deadlines, a lot of flaws. The other big one out there is Tarek Skubal. Now, do the Dodgers need Tarek Skubal? No, absolutely not. Would they love to have Tarek Skubal to just kind of rub it into everyone's face, right? And have maybe the best playoff rotation of all time? Maybe you could have two rotations that could win the World Series if you wanted to with the Dodgers if you got Tarek Skubal. So absolutely, I think they would want him, and I think they are one of just a few teams. I think the Phillies and Yankees are also on that list that could have the capital in the farm system, the prospects available, and starting pitching that's at the big league level right now to get a guy like Tarek Skubal for just a few month loan. Here's the caveat, though. Detroit's won a few games out of the break. What is it, 2 or 3 in a row right now? They are only 5 back in the Central. Tarek Skubal pitched Friday night, I believe, got the win. So you're on a 3-game winning streak if you're Detroit. You're a half game back of Minnesota. I think you're just like 3.5 out of the wild card picture. To me, that's doable. You don't even need to go on like a 15, 16 game winning streak like Boston to get back in the hunt if you're Detroit. And the reason why they didn't trade Skubal in the offseason is because they are in win now mode. They have the talent to do it. There's still plenty of time to do it. So really, this next week, this weekend and the start of next week, that's going to be huge for Detroit and for Tarek Skubal and for any team that wants to acquire Tarek Skubal, because I think who are they playing up next? Let me look. Because after this, they got Baltimore, they got Kansas City, 2 more, worst team in the Central. Then you got 3 with Baltimore, and then you got 3 against the A's. All 3 of those teams are below 500. All 3 of those teams Detroit should beat. So I bring this up because I think what will happen is they'll win a lot of those series. That 5-game lead, or sorry, that 5-game deficit in the Central, they will be able to shrink that. Maybe get that down to like 3.5 before the trade deadline. Cut that wild card gap maybe down to 1.5, 2 games out of the final playoff spot in the wild card. And I think if you're Detroit, you maybe hang on to Skubal and try to go make a push for the postseason. And let's keep in mind, this is a second half team. They did it last year. They did it the year before. They've had big seconds halves. I think they're thinking we can do it again. And make another push this time and be potentially ready for a deep playoff run. So as much as the Dodgers would love Skubal, as much as the Phillies would love Skubal, as much as the Yankees would love Skubal, I just think in my gut, if the Tigers keep on winning, they have some manageable, easy series they can win coming up. that by that time that trade deadline hits on Monday, they're not going to want to move them because I think they're thinking that they can get that final playoff spot, sneak in there and win. So that's the Dodgers side. So really, I just looking at a backup catcher. I don't see many moves coming from the Dodgers at the trade deadline because their moves are going to be getting Blake Snell back, getting Tyler Glasnow back, getting Edwin Diaz back, getting Kike Hernandez back, getting Will Smith back. That's going to be the moves for the Dodgers because they have the best record in baseball right now, and they've had half their team injured this whole season. They still have the best record in baseball. So I don't think they need to go out and make any panic moves and try to get another starter or anything. I think they just need to get their own players healthy and go get a backup catcher that can help you while Will Smith is going to be on the injured list. Now, with that said, the Phillies, in my opinion, and obviously I don't cover them day in and day out. I'm not on the beat, but they have just watching them and seeing them from afar, they have some definitive needs. They have some areas of weakness. I definitely think they need another starting pitcher, probably a back end starter. I think they need a right-handed bat. And I think they, believe it or not, even though they have one of the best closers in baseball in Johan Duran, I think they need another reliever and another high leverage reliever. Would you agree with that from what you're hearing as well?
Yeah. I mean, there've been some question on the fifth rotation starter.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Um, and
A back end guy.
I think that they are keeping their eye on someone. I'm not sure who, but they're definitely going to be active with a fifth option starter.
Yeah. So again, I think look, if Tarek Skubal's available and you're the Phillies, why not? You know what I mean? That's the difference between catching the Dodgers and catching the Braves
Hmm.
and missing out. But again, if we're going to go off the assumption that the Tigers don't trade him, that they think they're in it, and maybe they're buyers, not sellers, then you have to pivot to what we just said. So I look at teams that are sellers for sure right now. I look at Robbie Ray on the Giants. I think that's a guy. He's a rental, doesn't cost him a lot. Could be a good back end guy. That's a guy I think the Phillies might go after. Um, Maybe Brady Singer on the Reds.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. Maybe Michael Wacha's available out of Kansas City since those guys are so far out of it. You know what I mean? Those are
Yeah.
some guys I think that are uh, probably your fifth guy, like you mentioned, with the rotation they have. But that's a pretty good fifth guy, and we're talking like Robbie
Hmm.
Ray, Michael Wacha, Brady Singer. So names like that I think would be good. Right-handed bat's a little different. Again, we're looking at it's a tough situation right now in Major League Baseball because with the new expanded playoff format, there's not too many teams that are guaranteed sellers. Do you think the Blue Jays are going to sell right now? Because I think they're in win now mode too. You know what I mean? Even though
Yeah.
they're 6.5 out, I don't think you're ready to pull the plug on the season just yet. So in the American League, it's like the A's, the Royals, and the Angels are like your only guaranteed sellers.
Hmm.
And in the National League, I think the Reds should be sellers, but I don't necessarily think they want to be. So really, we're just looking at Giants, Mets, and Rockies as sellers. And when those are the only teams you can pull from, it means there's a lot of guys fighting over the same low-hanging fruit. So a guy like Helio Ramos on the Giants is a guy that I think they might look after. Taylor Ward maybe on the Orioles if they want to sell. We were just talking about Robert, who homered today for the Mets. Do you think that's a guy the Phillies might want to go after, Luis Robert? I mean, that's a great player.
Hmm.
Lane Thomas on the Royals. I'm just looking at these rosters and right-handed bats that are definitely going to be sellers that they could go after. And it's the same thing when it comes to relievers. Angels are going to be sellers. Go out and get a guy like Ryan Zefferjan. Go out and get like I don't know, Daniel Lynch or Eric Miller. Like these are the kind of guys that you're going to have to go after because those teams are going to sell. Where if you try to go after some bigger names, right, like a Mason Miller, for example, I don't know if the Padres are ready to sell or not, and you might be waiting till the very last minute to go after a guy that's a game-changing guy for you. But if you end up with nothing, and you don't get the guys that you definitely just need. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like the big needs, then you're stranded. So that's going to be the tough thing that not just the Phillies, but the Yankees and all these teams are going to have to kind of finagle here is you only got like 6 teams that are for sure sellers that all the buyers are going to be trying to pull players from. And then you have, teams that are on the fence right now, like the Scoobles of the world and the Mason Millers of the world. They don't know what those teams are going to do, and they're going to be holding you hostage here into the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really going to be intriguing to watch, especially once next Monday arrives. Um, I'll definitely have my notifications on for that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we all are going to be, I think, for sure. The good news is, I think if you're the Phillies, where you're at, you don't need a whole lot. Same thing with like the Dodgers, the Brewers. You don't need a whole lot. You know what I mean? You
Hmm.
don't need a huge game-changing piece that's you'd love that. But like I said, if you can go get like a Robbie Ray and you can get like a Helio Ramos, if you can get 2 for 1, that's great. Like make that
Hmm.
trade, you know what I mean? Make that trade right
Yeah.
now. Go get 2 guys. They fill holes and things that you need. Um, does it make you suddenly? Do you go from a wild card team to the best team in baseball? No, I don't think so. But that's definitely going to make the Phillies better. You know what I mean? And go get like a high end reliever from the Angels or something. And I
Yeah.
think that makes or the Rockies, and I think that makes the Phillies better.
Hmm. Do you think the Phillies make a splash from now until next Sunday before the deadline?
Do I think they'll make a trade before now and next Sunday?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I don't
Hmm.
think it's going to be a big name like Scooble or Mason Miller or something, but
Hmm.
I do think they'll be in those conversations all the way until the end. But I think if they're smart, early next week they'll pull off a trade to get. Yeah, they'll pull off a trade. I think. Yeah, I don't want to say this weekend, but early next week they'll pull off a trade uh, to get probably a back end starter and a right-handed bat.
Hmm.
Hell, maybe
Uh,
I don't know. I don't know if they want him or not, but I don't know. Could you see a situation where there's like maybe a reunion of sorts? Um, I don't know. With I don't know. There's a couple players that I think that maybe could be reunited back in Philly.
hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah. I think
I mean,
anything.
Castellanos is bad, but that's a guy that maybe they would be interested in. I don't know. Ramos, like I said, I don't know. There could be some
Yeah.
guys that they could get very cheap that could come back to Philly that are familiar and comfortable there.
I feel like they could get there's a lot of moving parts of this roster that need to get fixed.
Hmm.
But I feel like that their two priorities is uh, a stronger bat and a fifth rotation starter.
Okay. And I think if I'm them, I go for a rental. I go for a guy that's a free agent at the end of the year rather than, guys like Reed Detmers or something that have like a lot of control, or Joe Ryan on the Twins. And I don't even know if the Twins are going to sell right now. They're higher than the Tigers right now. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think if I'm them, I would go for a back end starter that is a free agent at the end of the year, so you can still build a better team, a better unit in the offseason rather than go getting a guy that has multiple years of control.
I know that the Phillies brought up Brian De La Cruz,
That's another
and
name, yeah.
and he's he's been surprisingly a pretty good fit for now with the Phillies rotation offensively in the batting order, and I'm curious to see how well he does. I think I think he's like a day, like two, like not like an everyday starter, but I feel like he fits the lineup every 2 games or something.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, that's definitely
Yeah,
and look, even if you make that trade, you can still keep him. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
definitely. Yeah.
You can still give them spot starts every now and then here and there because you never know. The hardest thing in baseball is to navigate the marathon of the 162 game season and have everybody fresh and ready to go for the sprint of the postseason. And, Sanchez, Luzardo, all those guys, Noel, Wheeler's coming off a massive injury. Like, these guys have all racked up a lot of innings. You're going to want to give them some rest down the stretch to make sure they're fresh and ready to go in October.
All right. I appreciate you for coming on tonight, and we'll see what unfolds in the coming days, and I'll definitely have you back on sometime soon.
Sounds good. All right. You have a good night, Alex. Again, congrats again.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.